Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the national anthem.
Mendi, national anthem, please stand on.
Quasi se calali Africa, male poco mi su pondolaio, I suoi imitando soia tu, così se calela tina lo sapolaio, morena poloche se ciaba so. O fedish watching trello matrenia, o se boloke, si chobasa, Esu, si chobasa, South Africa, I di blow for onse imo, I di deep for non si ons eeuwige gebaktes voor die grondse word gee. Sounds the call to come together and united we shall stand. Let us live and strive for freedom in South Africa. Sergeant Major, please withdraw the sentries.
Sentries, in work, done. On that, quick march.
You may be seated, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a very wise Sergeant Major that taught me a lot of things while I was in Cape Town, and he always said, no parade is perfect, and it certainly wasn't completely perfect today, but we've done our best. Please allow me to just a minute to say thank you to but a few that made this day possible. Our co-hosts today, the Pretoria District Dugout of the Moth, Old Bill Tinus Prinsloo, thank you very much for your assistance, and all our Moth brethren. My sincere thanks to the members of the Pretoria Memorial Services Council. Once again, your advice and support has meant a great deal to me. Mr. Sean Booth from the National Department of Military Veterans, your assistance, advice, wonderful suggestions and incredible dedication is appreciated. The South African National Defence Force, without them, we cannot do this. There's a lot of logistical support, their members on parade, and once again, they have proved to be top class.
The world today is commemorating the 100 years of the end of World War I. It's called Armistice Day, and South Africa is represented there by the Minister of Defence, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula. We saw earlier this morning the President of France, Emmanuel Macron, receiving about 85 leaders from all over the world to the global official celebration. Of course, simultaneous celebrations are happening all over the world because different countries in the world have had different impacts in terms of how that singular world event affected them. It took 4 years, ended in 1918 on this day with the signing of the solstice, and the official formal ending came around about June of the same year with the signing of the Treaty of Versailles. There you see the Chancellor of Germany, Angela Merkel. These two leaders are pivotal in this conversation because the solstice was only signed because Germany agreed to lay down arms on that particular day, and that's when the event became significant and the solstice event was signed. Bells ringing ahead of the official commemoration of the end of World War I, a process that was started by the signing of the Solstice Agreement on this day 100 years ago. And that era saw the beginning of multilateral organizations that up to today, including the United Nations, continue to try to bring about normalcy and peace in the world. Although we spoke to our foreign editor earlier, Sophie Mukwena, who was saying there's current undertones and conversations about the possibility of a World War III because countries are not agreeing on so many issues. We've seen the American President Donald Trump, who is said to be just about to arrive at the Elysee Palace. The kind of conversations he's been having with world leaders, be it on Twitter. There you see the global leaders, Emmanuel Macron with his wife, Brigitte, walking with other leaders towards the palace. All right, you're watching live events in France that are led by French President Emmanuel Macron with his wife Brigitte. We saw there the President of Canada, Mr. Trudeau. We've also seen the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, Mr. Macron and German Chancellor Angela Merkel leading the process there But all the events really starting on Friday, and some of the events that we've seen, Prime Minister Theresa May and Belgian Prime Minister Charles Michel also laid wreaths at the graves of the first and last British soldiers to be killed during the Great War at the cemetery near Mons in Belgium. The graves lie opposite one another in what Ms. Theresa May called a poignant symbol that brings home the eternal bond between Belgium and the UK and every member of the armed forces who gave their lives. The Guardian reporting that between the firing of the bullet that killed 16-year-old John Parr from Finchley, North London in August 1914, and the ringing out of the shot that struck down 40-year-old George Edwin Ellison from Leeds on the 11th November 1918, that's 4 years down the line, around 750,000 British men had been killed. All right, there's the leaders walking to the Arc de Triomphe for a moment of silence, a very poignant moment with all the leaders dressed in black. A very somber but also a very cordial moment. That in some ways and in a very symbolic way, there's the former president of France having a light moment with the current president. Leaders coming together, but as I was saying, in a very symbolic way, this event has included but excluded the President of the United States, Donald Trump, who is in Paris, has arrived for the events, but is really nowhere to be seen. There was a moment when it was said that he couldn't come through because of the rain, and some banter taking place on social media about how Barack Obama was not scared of the rain. People saying we want him back. Obviously that's not going to happen. Beautiful image there of the Arc de Triomphe. And global leaders, continental, European. We saw the President of Canada, Mr. Trudeau, also in attendance. All right, the moment of walking to the Arc de Triomphe, which is also a beautiful moment there, but now the leaders are gathering under a marquee. A very rainy day in Paris. Not too rainy, just enough. There you see the leader of the IMF also in attendance, Christine Lagarde. And as we continue to follow live events at the Arc de Triomphe, looking at global leaders attending the commemoration, the 100-year commemoration of an event that had so many days, so many names. Some people call it the days that the guns fell silent. In other quarters, it's called Armistice Day. In South Africa, it's called Remembrance Day, remembering soldiers who took part in that event. And the SABC has just reliably learned that the families of the victims of the SS Mendi are not happy. They're unhappy about being excluded from the events currently underway. We've been showing you those events at the Union Buildings in Pretoria. The families of the victims of the SS Mendi saying they have been excluded from both the preparations and the actual taking place of that event. So that is a story that we might want to follow as the week begins, as to how the families of the victims of the SS Mendi were excluded. Remember, 13,000 soldiers perished, South African soldiers perished in the events of World War I. And how we will take that story forward is at 4 o'clock this afternoon, the German embassy has apparently invited the families of the victims of the SS Mendi to the embassy in Pretoria this afternoon. And we will take a look at this. As we just saw there in the footage, the head of the United Nations, the SG of the United Nations, Mr. Antonio Guterres, also joining the commemoration ceremony. We'll continue to look out for some of the other global leaders who are in attendance. But just as the leader of France, Mr. Macron, promised, it is a sombre event. And there we see walking in the President of the United States with his wife Melania Trump, that Donald is walking in. The Don, as they call him. And there we see Prince Andrew, the Prince of Monaco as well. There we saw him with his South African Princess Charlene. They're also in the audience, in attendance. Donald Trump missing the wreath-laying ceremony yesterday, apparently due to rain and apparently due to his helicopter not working properly, but he's now attending the Arc de Triomphe event where global leaders are gathering to mark 100 years since that fatal, that momentous day in 1918 on the 11th of November, when the guns fell silent. The First Lady of the United States, Melania Trump, with her husband, Donald Trump, making their own separate entrance. As you saw, the global leaders all walked in as a collective. And here we see them coming in almost as a last-minute event. But they're attending nonetheless, joining all the other leaders of the world. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres also there, and the Canadian President Mr. Sarkozy, former President of France, also in attendance. Chancellor of Germany, Angela Merkel. Donald Trump standing there next to the Chancellor of Germany, Angela Merkel, and having a short conversation before the starting of the program. Did you see him? Mr. Putin, who is one of the global leaders as well, from Russia, also joining in with the rest of the global leadership. Interesting that the leader of Russia walks in right behind the leader of America. You know, the conversation about Russia meddling with election processes in the election of that elevated Donald Trump into leadership. They shook hands. So that should mean for something.
Vous, portez, sort, présentez, sort. Dans le temps d'un test, pas de devant, portez, sort. Présentez, sort.
Posez. 1.
Portez.
Repos.
Reposez. Sort.
Garde à vous. Présentez. 1.
Portez. Sort. Présentez.
Adjudant Émilien Mougin, mort pour la France. Maréchal des logis Timothée d'Ernoncourt, mort pour la France. Caporal Bogus Pochilski, mort pour la France.
Aux morts.
Allons enfants de la patrie, le jour de gloire est arrivé. Contre l'eau de la tyrannie, les combats sanglants élevés, les combats sanglants élevés. Entendez-vous les compagnes qui jugent ces féroces soldats, ils viennent le juge de
Portez.
All right, we're watching events, live events from the Arc de Triomphe on the Champs-Élysées in Paris. About 70 world leaders, including US President Donald Trump, attending that event to commemorate 100 years since the end of World War I. It's been called a lot of things. It's called Armistice Day. It's called the day that the guns fell silent. And in South Africa, it's called Remembrance Day. Here at home, President Cyril Ramaphosa is in East London today. We had footage of that earlier on, and I'm sure it will come back onto our screens in a bit. And this is as part of the party and country duty. The party duty is as part of the Tumamina ANC campaign in the lead up to elections, general elections in the country next year. You've seen him go to different provinces. He's been to Gauteng, he's been to Limpopo, and now he's in the Eastern Cape.
L'année 1918, l'une des plus meurtrières de la guerre mondiale, mobilise sur tous les fronts, sur terre, dans les airs et sur mer, des sociétés épuisées.
Les soldats de tous les continents se battent et meurent par milliers.
Le 11 novembre, à 11h, résonnent le clairon et les cloches qui annoncent l'armistice.
Un tournant majeur vers la paix.
Dans leurs carnets et leurs correspondances, les femmes et les hommes, à l'arrière comme au front, témoignent de ce jour.
Adjudant Roumiguière, soldat français du 243e régiment, 7 novembre 1918.
Est-ce que je rêve? Le bruit court avec persistance. Est-il vrai qu'à l'heure qu'il est, l'armistice avec l'Allemagne a été conclu? Je suis tellement content que j'ai peine à croire que cette nouvelle soit vraie. Dès que je me rends compte de mon bonheur, je pense à mon frère et à ma sœur, victimes l'un comme l'autre de la guerre. Mes yeux se brouillent.
Vendredi 8 novembre.
Hier, je croyais que la guerre n'était plus qu'un vieux cauchemar. Aujourd'hui, Je me rends compte que je me faisais des illusions. La lutte va continuer. On va brûler de la poudre et verser encore du sang.
Le 11 novembre 1918.
Plus que jamais, je suis convaincu que la guerre est enfin finie. Les armes sont déposées. On ne les reprendra pas. J'ai encore beaucoup de papier à noircir, mais fini le ronflement des marmites et le sifflement des balles. Fini.
Testimony of a British soldier. Charles Neville, artillery officer.
My darling parents, today has been perfectly wonderful. We got news of the armistice at 9:30 this morning. I got 10 minutes to sort out the detachment for a grand parade in the square of Mons. So I got everybody I could let my hands on to scrub the mud off. The streets were packed with wildly cheering civilians, chucking flowers up and carry on only like a foreigner can. All the streets and the square was a blaze of colour, mostly, of course, the Belgian colours, red, yellow and black, Union Jacks, French flags, American flags, in fact, every conceivable flag of the Allies.
Travailleur chinois de 23 ans, Ku Ching-chin, traducteur. Témoignage écrit depuis un dépôt de Rouen.
忽闻教堂钟声，工厂汽笛声，以及场外欢呼声，与歌唱声同时并作。预备今问何故？使之休战条约已签订，战争从此可以终止矣。此何日也？给予永久不忘之1918年11月11日也。是日各地工作，各地将士自11点起一律停止。于反义武伤后，乃即出外，寓意光当日反人庆祝休战之盛况。待行至街市间，宜人山人海，男女老幼，军士人民，各色人种混在一起，互相握手，时或唱歌，时或欢呼。在万声欢呼歌唱之中，竟有哭泣者，此时喜极而泣之表现，激情不自禁之快乐，自非言语所可形容此种种狂欢之壮也。
All right, we seem to have lost that feed to the Arc de Triomphe commemoration of 100 years since the ending of World War I, and we saw the global leaders in attendance. We saw Antonio Guterres, who is the SG of the United Nations. We saw Christine Lagarde of the IMF, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, Vladimir Putin, the Russian President, Angela Merkel, the German Chancellor. One face that I thought was missing for me, and I might be corrected here, is the British Prime Minister Theresa May. I didn't seem to see her in any of the footage that's come through from this particular event. We know she did have events with Belgium yesterday where they visited a grave site, but I haven't seen her at all today. These are events at the Arc de Triomphe on the Champs-Élysées in Paris, where about 70 global leaders are in attendance to mark 100 years since the end of Armistice of the World War I, which is called Armistice Day, the day the guns fell silent.
Testimony of an American soldier, Captain Charles Normington, 127 Infantry, 32nd Division. November 11, 1918.
In the parade were hundreds of thousands of soldiers from the US, England, Canada, France, Australia, Italy, and the colonies. Each soldier had his arms full of French girls, some crying, others laughing. Each girl had to kiss every soldier before she would let him pass. There is nowhere on earth I would rather be today than just where I am. I have had many an old French couple come up to me, crying like children, saying, "You grand Americans, you have done this for us?" I only hope the soldiers who died for this cause are looking down upon the world today. The whole world owes this moment of real joy to the heroes who are not here to help enjoy it.
Erich Maria Remarque, deutscher Soldat.
Der Krieg ist zu Ende. In einer Stunde sollen wir abziehen. Wir brauchen nun nie wieder hierher. Wenn wir gehen, gehen wir für immer. Es ist ein sonderbarer Moment. Wir stehen beieinander und sehen nach vorn. Leichte Nebelschwaden liegen über dem Boden. Die Trichterlinien und Gräben sind deutlich erkennbar. Grau liegt die eintönige Landschaft vor uns. Das war eine furchtbare Welt und ein schweres Leben. Und jetzt bleibt es ohne weiteres zurück, wenn wir die Füße vorwärts setzen. Es versinkt Schritt für Schritt hinter uns. Und in einer Stunde ist es weg, als wäre es nie da gewesen. Wer kann das begreifen? Da stehen wir und sollten lachen und brüllen vor Vergnügen und haben doch ein flaues Gefühl im Magen.
Témoignage d'une Française, Denise Brûleur. Lettre adressée à son fiancé, ParisFor.
Mon Pierre, ardemment chéri, au même instant où je vous écris, dans votre lointaine forêt d'Alsace, vous apprenez l'immense nouvelle. Ici, les cloches sonnent à toute volée. Je suis malade de bonheur. Je ne peux écrire. De joie, je sanglote désespérément. Jamais, jamais je ne pourrais vous dire l'émotion et le délirant enthousiasme de cette première journée d'armistice. Le bouleversement jusqu'au tréfonds de son être et cette pensée incroyable qu'aucun homme ne tombera plus, que l'étendue immense du front est silencieuse. Rien que du silence. De grosses larmes en songeant que tout est terminé.
minaucho, mitopera, minaucho, mitopera, bueno kaka mia poisse quevenyo, bueno kaka mia poisse quevenyo, ble oui mia da pero, ble oui mia da pero, ble oui, ble oui, ble oui, mianda pelo, ble oui, mianda pelo, ble
A beautiful rendition there by Beninois artist Angelique Kicho, who's probably now a French citizen because that's her matrimonial home.
Le 7 novembre 1918, lorsque le caporal clairon Pierre Sellier sonna le premier cessez-le-feu, vers 10 heures du matin, bien des hommes ne purent y croire, puis sortirent lentement de leur position, pendant que de loin en loin, sur les lignes, les mêmes clairons répétaient le cessez-le-feu, puis faisait entendre les notes de la sonnerie aux morts, avant que les cloches ne répandent la nouvelle à la volée dans tout le pays. Le 11 novembre 1918, à 11 heures du matin, il y a 100 ans, jour pour jour, heure pour heure, à Paris comme dans toute la France, les clairons ont retenti et les cloches de toutes les églises ont sonné. C'était l'armistice. C'était la fin de 4 longues et terribles années de combats meurtriers. L'armistice, pourtant, n'était pas la paix. Et à l'Est, pendant plusieurs années, d'effroyables guerres se poursuivirent. Ici, ce même jour, les Français et leurs alliés ont célébré leur victoire. Ils s'étaient battus pour leur patrie et pour la liberté. Ils avaient consenti pour cela tous les sacrifices et toutes les souffrances. Ils avaient connu un enfer que nul ne peut se représenter. Nous devrions prendre un instant pour faire revenir à nous cet immense cortège de combattants où défilent des soldats de la métropole et de l'Empire, des légionnaires et des garibaldiens, avec des étrangers venus du monde entier, parce que la France représentait pour eux tout ce qu'il y avait de beau dans le monde. Avec les ombres de Peugeot, premier tombé, et de Trébuchon, dernier mort pour la France 10 minutes avant l'armistice, voici l'instituteur Kléber Dupuis, défenseur de Douaumont, Apollinaire, Blaise Sandras, au régiment de marche de la Légion étrangère, les soldats des régiments basques, bretons ou marseillais, le capitaine de Gaulle, que personne alors ne connaissait, Julien Green l'Américain, à la porte de son ambulance, Monterland et Giono, Charles Péguy et Alain Fournier, tombés dans les premières semaines, Joseph Kessel, venu de Ronbourg en Russie, et tous les autres, qui sont les nôtres, auquel plutôt nous appartenons et dont on peut lire les noms sur chaque monument, des hauteurs solaires de la Corse aux vallées des Alpes, de la Sologne aux Vosges, de la pointe du Raz à la frontière espagnole. Oui, une seule France, rurale et urbaine, bourgeoise, aristocratique et populaire, de toutes les couleurs, où le curé et l'anticlérical ont souffert côte à côte et dont l'héroïsme et la douleur nous ont fait. Durant ces 4 années, l'Europe manqua de se suicider. L'humanité s'était enfoncée dans le labyrinthe hideux d'affrontements sans merci, dans un enfer qui engloutit tous les combattants, de quelque côté qu'ils soient, de quelque nationalité qu'ils soient. Dès le lendemain de l'armistice, commença le funèbre décompte des morts, des blessés, des mutilés, des disparus. Ici, en France, mais aussi dans chaque pays, les familles, pendant des mois, attendirent en vain le retour d'un père, d'un frère, d'un mari, d'un fiancé. Et parmi ces absents, il y eut aussi ces femmes admirables, engagées auprès des combattants. 10 millions de morts, 6 millions de blessés et mutilés, 3 millions de veuves, 6 millions d'orphelins, des millions de victimes civiles, 1 milliard d'obus tirés sur le seul sol de France. Le monde découvrit l'ampleur de blessures que l'ardeur combattante avait occultées. Aux larmes des mourants succédèrent celles des survivants. Car sur ce sol de France, le monde entier était venu combattre. Des jeunes hommes de toutes les provinces et de l'outre-mer, des jeunes hommes venus d'Afrique, du Pacifique, des Amériques et d'Asie, sont venus mourir loin de leur famille, dans des villages dont ils ne connaissaient pas même le nom. Les millions de témoins de toutes les nations racontèrent l'horreur des combats, la puanteur des tranchées, la désolation des champs de bataille, les cris des blessés dans la nuit, la destruction de campagnes florissantes où ne subsistait plus que la silhouette calcinée des arbres. Beaucoup de ceux qui sont rentrés avaient perdu leur jeunesse, leurs idéaux, leur goût de vivre. Beaucoup étaient défigurés, aveugles, amputés. Vainqueurs et vaincus furent alors plongés pour longtemps dans le même deuil. 1918, c'était il y a 100 ans. Cela semble loin, et pourtant c'était hier. J'ai arpenté les terres de France où se sont déroulés les combats les plus rudes. J'ai vu dans ces campagnes de mon pays la terre encore grise et toujours stérile des champs de bataille. J'ai vu les villages détruits, qui n'avaient plus d'habitants pour les reconstruire et qui ne sont aujourd'hui encore que le témoignage, pierre sur pierre, de la folie des hommes. J'ai vu, sur nos monuments, la litanie des noms de Français côtoyant les noms des étrangers morts sous le soleil de France. J'ai vu le corps de nos soldats ensevelis sous une nature redevenue innocente. Comme j'avais vu dans les fosses communes se mêler les ossements des soldats allemands et des soldats français, côte à côte, qui par un hiver glacial s'étaient entretués pour quelques mètres de terrain. Les traces de cette guerre ne se sont jamais effacées, ni sur les terres de France, ni sur celles d'Europe et du Moyen-Orient, ni dans la mémoire des hommes partout dans le monde. souvenons-nous. N'oublions pas. Car le souvenir de ces sacrifices nous exhorte à être dignes de ceux qui sont morts pour nous, pour que nous puissions vivre libres. Souvenons-nous. Ne retranchons rien de ce qu'il y avait de pureté, d'idéal, de principes supérieurs dans le patriotisme de nos aînés. Cette vision de la France comme nation généreuse, de la France comme projet, de la France porteuse de valeurs universelles, a été dans ces heures sombres exactement le contraire de l'égoïsme d'un peuple qui ne regarde que ses intérêts. Car le patriotisme est l'exact contraire du nationalisme. Le nationalisme en est la trahison. En disant « nos intérêts d'abord et qu'importent les autres », on gomme ce qu'une nation a de plus précieux, ce qui la fait vivre, ce qui la porte à être grande, ce qui est le plus important, ses valeurs morales. Souvenons-nous, nous autres Français, de ce que Clémenceau a proclamé le jour de la victoire, il y a 100 ans, jour pour jour. Du haut de la tribune de l'Assemblée nationale, avant qu'en un cœur sans pareil n'éclate la Marseillaise. Combattante du droit, combattante de la liberté, la France serait toujours et à jamais le soldat de l'idéal.
You're watching SABC News. We're bringing you live coverage of the Armistice Days commemorations. They're marking the end of World War I in Paris in France. We're going to do a crossing there now. French President Emmanuel Macron has welcomed around 70 world leaders to the Elysee Palace ahead of a commemoration at the Arc de Triomphe in Paris to mark the 100th anniversary of the armistice that brought World War I to an end. World leaders, including a South African delegation led by Defense Minister Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, will gather for a somber commemoration at the tomb of the unknown soldier. Now, Elena Casa joins us live from Paris. Elena, over to you.
Over 70 world leaders are gathered at the Arc de Triomphe behind me at the tomb of the unknown soldier, including French President Emmanuel Macron, President Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin. We're hearing from Macron just at the moment. They gathered at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month when the guns fell silent across the Western Front a century ago. They've heard school children from around the world reading from letters that First World War soldiers sent home from the front, and Macron is now speaking to those assembled leaders. He's convened them, of course, not just to commemorate the war dead, but also to make a very contemporary and very explicit political point. The French President Macron believes that the international rules-based order, which was of course forged here in Paris out of the bloodshed of the First World War with the creation of the League of Nations, the precursor to the UN, is very much at risk at the moment. He's been touring battlefields this week and making explicit comparisons between now and the 1930s. He believes that we're living in the most fragile time for world peace since the 1930s, and he wants to make that message very clear to the assembled leaders. The question, of course, is whether or not they are listening. Emmanuel Macron is making a plea against nationalism to an avowedly nationalist American president, of course. Later this afternoon, those world leaders without Donald Trump will be joining Macron at the Paris Peace Forum, a forum for conflict, security and global governance that he's convened, in which he aims will become an annual event. Now he is trying to get across a very clear message that nationalism kills, that the international rules-based order is in danger, and that something must be done to protect it. But of course, many of the leaders gathered here today, like the Turkish President Erdogan, Russian President Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump, don't share Macron's passion for multilateralism. They don't share his belief in that rules-based order. Trump, of course, has put it under threat, as Macron has said himself, by pulling out of the Iran nuclear deal, or out of various trade agreements, out of a nuclear arrangement with Russia, for example. And Macron is hoping to salvage enough support to protect that rules-based order. But whether or not those gathered leaders at the Arc de Triomphe behind me now are listening to him is a different question.
Well, Well, there was Elena Casa bringing us up to speed on the commemorations at the Arc de Triomphe in Paris in France. Well, let's now take you back to the sad moment when many black Africans perished in the English Channel on their way to join the Allied forces in Europe during the sinking of the South African warship, the SS Mendi.
Be quiet and calm, my countrymen. What is taking place now is what you came here to do. We are all going to die. Jim Jamangile, do you remember these words? Spoken by Reverend Goba as the English Channel swallowed you and 600 men. The tragic tale reverberates like rattling rifles at war. Despite this, there was no surrender, as many took on your boots.
That was a very unpleasant night to all the inmates of SS Mendi.
Clearly, Black Lives Matter is a century-long campaign. Unarmed, you are part of what's perceived a white man's war. Stunned by your bravery, Mwabisi, your brother's son, took up arms. But this was a different kind of war, on home soil.
When I joined the National Defense Force, or when I decided to be a soldier, I joined like any other person. Just, I want to defend my country, I want to go and fight for my country.
The battle continued through the years. And soon, under the blue African sky, we would be equal. Jim Jamangile, your sons and daughters from either sides of the battle line stood guard, ushering in the commander-in-chief. It's a new political landscape.
And to oppose all that may harm the Republic.
But the murky political waters would take the Republic by storm.
I've taken the decision to resign as President of the Republic.
Despite the resignation of their commander-in-chief, your sons and daughters stayed true to the task at hand, protecting our borders and our neighbors, and at times paying the ultimate price.
Soldiers have no right to life. That's our uniqueness. Soldiers have no right to life.
They too gave life from a tree in Mozambique, gave hope to orphans who lost their parents in Nigeria, and built a school for children in the DRC.
We're an instrument, the last line of defense of the RSA. And then, of course, in the Defense Force itself, when everything comes to a halt, the Defense Force comes into the picture. And then we try, in fact, to a limited extent, of course, to build our own inherent capabilities to be able to do everything.
Jim Jamangile, as we remember you and your fallen countrymen, we can't forget that some graves lie unmarked on foreign soil. To you and your descendants who remain faithful to the Republic, we say, salute.